Council, if we are ready to continue with the same witness from yesterday and the day before, please proceed.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, and members of the audience. We are ready to proceed. Kindly bring in the witness, please. Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Tamba. Welcome back to the TRRC.
Isama Mr. Tamba, Bismillah TRRC.
Yesterday we finished off talking about the work of the panels and the tortures that were meted out on the suspects who are being investigated. Can you recall that?
Kunum pareta panelo la do ko nyindal aning molla me yalonko ye tumile sobitela le ye tajireyal men kela fareta o fanam fanna balale hakilo yo mudala ba.
Yes, Council.
Yes, Council.
Obviously, what happened is regrettable, considering also that it was a massive violation of the laws of the country to torture individuals and obtain confessions.
Anonya ni meya jube kule meya lonko nimsa kule kadung nyinyama kamomuta kala ka tajireya omukule meya lonko ya mari la nyantole tinya amari bulu.
In view of the esteemed position, very privileged position you held at the time, Lieutenant General, or rank rather, Lieutenant General.
Lieutenant General Gambia banko kanjango watola.
And position as CDS.
CDS.
Do you regret what happened during that period?
For inimsa talaba menketa o watola nunje.
Lead Counsel.
Lead Counsel.
Deputy Lead Counsel.
Deputy Lead Counsel.
Chairman.
Chairman.
Commissioners.
Commissioners.
Executive Secretary.
Executive Secretary. Olem Lupula Nyaton Koti.
Audience.
Lamuir Lalu.
My family members.
Natimba Yalu Menabijang.
Members of the press.
Bardo Kulalu Menabijang.
Indeed, I sit before you here. Continue my testimony on the issues that were raised yesterday and to continue on the orders that were not raised yesterday. And I will continue to reaffirm that I'll speak the truth and nothing but the truth. Council, coming back to your question, in any system, in any situation, of course, mistakes are bound to be made. No system is perfect. And once mistakes are made, we accept them and reconcile and move on. Because that is the only way we can come together as a country and know that we belong to one family and move on. And in my concluding remarks, certainly I will have the opportunity to express issues that I felt that were not properly handled manke anyama
were not properly executed,
me tamandi anyama fanan
and then we will move on as a family.
isajensi tenten kake badin
Certainly,
kilingoti
that will come in my concluding remarks.
obekela nakumo kumfadu laleto
As I am human,
latunte muhadama dingolti
certainly I am not perfect.
mantimma
And of course, during the term of my office,
andu wato membe pala
I
soto
might have made some mistakes.
fananga filolu kele
But what is proper for a gentleman
bari mentilinta moye mem hadamayata
is to accept the mistakes that you have done
yes song filolu la menu ketebulu
and then make a total submission to Allah
simuru ye ifansay alama
and move on.
katente nyato
Certainly, that will be figured in my closing remarks.
nin ala sonta o be fintila nakumo kumfadu lale
Thank you, Council.
inu mbara kansul
Thank you, Mr. Tamba.
Mr. Tamba.
This is the whole essence of the TRRC.
TRRC longunda duno be mu nyinati.
It is important that we crystallize the facts about what have happened
Ko mayada la purunga to nya bondi ko la men yalon ko wollel keta.
and we accept responsibility,
Andun ka song duno la mem keta imari bulu.
ask for forgiveness,
Ikanin roke yamfola.
we reconcile as a people,
Ngamuru nyoka kombe mu hada madin kilingol leti.
we reunite as a people,
Andun ngamuru nyoka ko de kombe mu hada madin kilingol leti.
then we refocus our energies on national development
Isa jambe sina nyati lim bankola yirwando la nala nyatota.
and set and rid us of all those tribal, ethnic, regional bickerings that divide us.
Andun sin kodi kul bela men yalon ko wolem sifata fansi kulti banko kanjang banko bantala abe ngam kodi wala nyati li nyato.
So I re-echo what you have just said
Hanin kabi ba murun kan na yemen fo jang sainte.
and endorse that statement
Andun ilo kuma kawni ngata
as the best way forward for Gambia.
ko kuma kan na me yalon ko wolem kuma kan kendo ti pour bang Gambia la nyato tae.
And thank you very much.
Andu ini mbara ba ke ilo kuma kan kan.
Indeed, you would make a statement in your closing remarks.
To nyala ilo kuma kan labango nyingi ibe kuma so la bela kuma da soro na menna.
But at this stage, I just take it that you regret some of the things that have happened during the 2006 investigations.
Nyin tembel na sain tembe men tala wala nyindi ko la men keta no 2006 kiskisiro yiwito nyin kono ko men keta je inim satala le ngawle ta
mbe abe tembe ndila jele
Certainly, in 2006,
to nya 2006
as a member of the panel
nte tarta panelo kono nyamen bije bari mbuluti je
in control,
mararola kangola karola
certainly as a member of the panel,
bari
rested on us.
yolu lantol kan
Like I said,
nga fanu nyami
in my closing remarks,
nakumo kumfadu lato kolu menu nasita
happened,
menu keta
and of course, as I said, as I'm human,
nga fanya men te fana muhadama dingul
during that course,
o be kan be bolo sayro kelale
Thank you very much, Mr. Tamba. That is the only honorable thing to do.
enu mbara ba ke Mr. Tamba wo ronon bunya ko woti mosi menke
2006
purka kumfa ron 2006 ko nyi
Ndur Cham investigation.
ndur jam la kisi ko nyi
I am looking here, then of the GRTS.
wolam GRTS la ma be wala nunje
I recall that you told us
hakilo ya ma ko ya fo nyela nu
that the panel suggested
ko panelo nyi yin miro di
that GRTS be brought in.
pour GRTS ici commandant pour e ma be kisi ro nyi wijo nyi kono ko nyi president nata na ko nyi tale
correct, Council.
ka to nyala kansul
Here we have this statement from Mr. Haidara,
silang afele jam Mr. Haidara la kuma kan safere ngol be mbulu jam
and he said as follows.
ay mem fo jam bina wala fola
I had questions were raised about the GRTS video broadcasting of confessions of the suspects of 2006 coup plotters.
nga moy be video kuma fo kam pour GRTS ye na pour nyi mol me yalon ko ngi muta coup d'état ko nyi na pour ila songo nyi ka findindi tele
My recollection to that is as follows.
ngakilo mem muta ko nyi to wala nyindi
After the panel was almost ready with all or most of its findings and statements were already obtained. And every detail about the coup plot was clearly noted. And listen carefully. The president one day sent information to the panel. I think via Harisambo. Lang Tombong. Or some state guard personnel. I cannot remember fully. Indicating that the president wants to send GRTS to broadcast some confessions made by the suspects to the nation.
President on lafita GRTS kila nang kidinkira nyinto puru nyin sedol nyin na songo nyin na puru sa fintini television or puru banko molie.
In his view,
atelot mira loto,
from his recollection,
anala hakilo ememura,
it was the president who decided
President wole kango tamandi wole miro nyindi
that GRTS should broadcast the confession.
Ko GRTS nyana nala jele kanyi mol nyi mura mol nyi na songo nyi ka fintindi.
Do you have anything to say about that?
Sedo foi kuma sotolo mai be men fola kuma to bang.
And so I believe probably because of the period it has taken.
And so latal akasekeno wato mentambita akonyin kono.
Maybe Haidara has forgotten the sequence of events.
Sikeno Haidara nyinata kulul bula nyomo Kenya la Karola.
I was in the panel at the time.
And
I think the president could not have sent Harisambu to the panel.
And la presidency Harisambu kinam paneloto
for that purpose when I was already in the panel. So all I can remember and I can tell you, this was a suggestion, a proposal by us in the panel to have this recorded and also to show to the public about their confessions so that there will be no misconception from the general public that these statements were cooked. And of course, like I said earlier on, the recordings were done at the early stage of the investigation. That was why I did mention to this commission that they did the confession in front of the camera without any intimidation.
I will not reopen the examination, your testimony about how the confessions were obtained. I think we've extensively dealt with that. So I'll now move on to another topic. That is the issue of Daba Marena and Co. Could you tell us about what you know about the arrest of Daba Marena and the things that followed until his disappearance?
Until it was one early morning that I received a call from one Tombong Tamba, and who did told me that Daba Marena and his group were being transported to Janjambure prisons from Mile 2 prisons. And that during the process, they had a stopover on the way as they requested to pee off. So he said during that process, they scattered
Ijanjanta.
And that's how they escaped.
Koi kanata wole nyama.
That was the message he gave me.
Ayin kibaro dinnatenne.
And at that moment,
Wonoto,
my question to him was,
na nganyinin karo men katela wo.
were they not handcuffed?
Fodung nyimmolu ime handcuff numbang.
And his response was, they were not handcuffed.
Ala jabiro keta nyineti ko ime handcuff.
I questioned him, how possible you can transport such a number of detainees?
Nga nyinin ka munana mo nangamo membe ko nyilu me yalon ko be muto kono isiolu yo sambano nyaadile
without being handcuffed.
Andu wayatare me bulolu handcuff.
He said that was what they did.
Akoto de wole keta.
Further went on.
Continue kanyum fanyenko.
Said that the president has requested that
Andu president wa nyin kaninko
myself,
atefango
Harisamu, then the head of the NIA,
Harisambu butumo wolem NIA nyaton koti
Usman Sonko, the Inspector General of Police,
Usman Sonko memu police la kundon
that
koti
we should meet
and
make a press release
kibaro safe membe bankela
that effect.
Itandi menketa.
But at what stage were they arrested?
Bari yemuta tembela jumalto.
Of course, they were arrested following the 21st March aborted coup.
Ye mutabirim March karotil morning killing coup d'etat bayring botala.
How soon into the investigations were they arrested?
Iskisiro nyinkola ay wati jellel da jani yetul muta.
It was the early part of the investigation.
Kisikisiro juna watolem ye muta.
In fact, it happened that some of them didn't even appear before the panel when the incident happened.
Aketa ko fandolu be kono ulumam finti panelo nyatili ngola beri nyinko keta.
Did Daba appear before the panel?
Funyin Daba ate nyata panelo nyatili ngola laba.
Daba Marena traveled with the president to Mauritania.
Daba Marena ni president wale tata nyola Mauritania.
And on his return from Mauritania,
beri bri muruta nan kabona Mauritania.
Some of us never set our eyes on him.
Ntel dolu nene ma nyalo akan kotake.
So it happened at the early stage of the panel.
Aketa panelo la juna watole.
Did he appear before the panel?
Fo anarana finti panelo nyatili ngola laba.
No, he never.
Hani anena manlo panelo nyatili.
Manlafikor, did he appear before the panel?
Manlafikor dum fo atafana na finti ta panelo nyatili ngola laba.
If I get my memory right,
ninna miraro tilinta.
Probably Manlafikor and Alpha Ba.
Asake Manlafikor ning Alpha Ba.
If my memory serves me right, they appeared before the panel. Briefly.
Nimanyina ulfinta panel nyatili ngolale. Wati sudundoro?
What do you mean by that? They appeared briefly.
Yo ilo koto mune de kafo ifindita panelo nyatili ngola wati sudunkola.
Because with the setup of the panel, when an individual appears before the panel, you are questioned about your responsibility in the coup. After you give your explanation, we'll usually either give you write a statement, or we get you back to mile 2. To give you more time for you to think over it. So it was within that period.
Is it in fact the case that Manlafikor was, before his arrest, one of those who was transporting the suspects to the NIA?
Fonyinem kodi bang manyi Manlafikor janning atebe mutala atefana ndabe mol kono la men ka mol bondi muta mol bondi na mal duke samba NIA.
Certainly he was one of those because at that time his involvement in the coup plot wasn't revealed. So he was among those who were escorting the people arrested.
Before their disappearance, did they make a confession?
That is what I've just mentioned, if my memory serves me right. Probably Manlafikor and Alpha Ba. They appeared before the panel.
Did they make a confession?
As far
as you can recall.
I could recall Alpha Ba.
Alpha Bang hakilo somuta.
Certainly he made a confession
Tonya asonta kumakangulula.
when he said that
Bila yimfoko.
one day he was with the former CDS Nurcham
Ako lunkilin sotonta aning menne naketa CDS Nurcham anio benyokang.
in the Fajara barracks.
Fajara Sojar Kunda.
When Nurcham mentioned to him about his plan of a coup.
Utumole Nurcham nyim kumakangu fae ko ay ferole soto pruka kudeta ke.
So that was why Alphaba was arrested.
Ya muta.
Because it's like he did not report it to anybody.
As the
law dictates.
How about Manlafi?
Manlafi's own case also is similar to Alphaba. Having knowledge of a coup
Londo Soto
and failing to report to a police officer, a magistrate, or a minister,
or a superior officer.
Correct.
How about Ibulo?
Ibulo, sorry. Ibulo at the time, he was in Kanilai. So during the course of the interrogation with other groupies, that was how his name surfaced there. That one of the groupies mentioned that Ibulo was informed. So he was arrested 1 week into the investigation. If my memory serves me right.
Good. Do you know whether he had also made a confession?
Ibulo also never appeared before the panel. This is somebody that I know very, very, very well. He was very close to me.
You told us yesterday.
Yeah, so I even confronted him that there was a panel sitting. Your name was being mentioned several occasions. And you knew that you were part of it. And yet you still stayed around.
And when you heard that these people had escaped, what happened afterwards?
Council, like I earlier on mentioned, that the president said we should make a statement to that effect. And hence it has got to do more with the police. So we converge at the office of the Inspector General of Police. At the time, who happened to be Usman Sonko. And then within that period, certainly, we got a call again. This time from the president, who asked us if Tumbul has relayed the message to us. And certainly,
but Mr. Tamba, was there a time that you had to go to the president to discuss this?
And so neither me no Usman Sonko or Harry Sambu went to the president discuss about this issue. That is why I mentioned that during our convergence in the Inspector General's office. That was when he made a call. Yes.
I have this statement here of Mr. Harry Sambu.
ari sambula kuma kan saferingo
and he says as follows.
Mem fo wala munyinti.
Nearly a week after I took over as the new acting director general,
abina lokun sila wato men nga nyaton kayata pour ke acting director general,
my predecessor Mr. Marena was brought into the office to do the formal handing over.
ngamen keta wala Mr. Marena na officer pour ka ko nyimbeta officer la jorangol be keta ka dinna.
He was escorted by heavily armed soldiers led by the late captains Musa Jamme and Tumbul Tamba, respectively.
Andum kabringa bina officer nyinto je ya dandan nanje andum menu ya dandan nanje ini joran jawlu andum meye nyaton ka wala mu tala Musa Jamme ti aning Tumbul Tamba.
Upon seeing me,
biri yenje,
he said,
ako,
my boss, when I heard that you are taking over here, I was very relieved.
Nak nyaton ko bringa moy ko e nati jande ngeta nyaado le nyama me alon ko kul talatan kanne.
And then the statement went on
to
say that Mr. Marena was then whisked away.
Mr. Marena, Adaba Marena ya samba.
And then he said, sometime later, one morning, I was summoned to the office of the IGP to a meeting of the 3 service chiefs.
Killing allow Somandala, Natana Samane, Purungata meeting Mabe, IGP office Okono.
In attendance was also the late Captain Tumbul Tamba. He opened the floor with an announcement that 5 prisoners, Daba Marena, Manlafikor, Alfaba, Aliu Sise, and Ibulo,
Ali Ibulo
were being driven to Janjambure prison the previous night. And along the way, they had an accident and the vehicle somersaulted. In the ensuing confusion, they fled and escaped. 2 of my 2 colleagues, Sonko and Tamba, seemingly expressed surprise and shock. They appeared alarmed and upset at Captain Tamba for being so careless with such a sensitive mission.
Captain Tamba
Was His Excellency aware?
His Excellency
How were we going to inform him? The atmosphere in the room was cold and empty. I was dumbfounded and flabbergasted. Thank you very much. I just sat there thinking how such a thing could have happened without me, as head of intelligence, not having an inkling of it.
Nsita je njakalita nyimbe kenola nyade kake kullo polisol bela nyaton koti nyimbe kenola nyade la mallondi sota kuoto.
Then General Tamba suggested that the 3 service chiefs should go to State House and inform the president.
Jeltom General Tamba nyinarna miro di wala tanko bunda sabo molti wol nyana tala ila nyaton ko nyana tala president o yala yaje inaya kacha.
But before that, we should make a joint press statement to the media and public, which we did.
Bari janni wo nyanna kuma kaon kibaro fintindi la jama kanne kibar bundal to puriya kalamuta. Anu ngoke.
Is this story true?
Funyum kibaro mu tonyalti ba.
Council, part of it is not true.
Council, afanna dobi jede o manke tonyati.
Which part?
It is true that myself,
Tonyala ntefango, Arisambu,
converged in the office of the Inspector General of Police, Usman Sonko.
Mbenda Inspector General la officer to memo police la nyaton kote Usman Sonko.
And for Harry to suggest that,
Purugin kama Harry nyim foko,
Tumul came to the Inspector General of Police Office
tumbul nata Inspector General la office oto
delivered that message to us.
kanyin kibaro din to laje
It's not true.
o manke to nyati
Like I mentioned earlier on,
ko ngafo nun komanto nyami
Tumbul gave me a phone call
tumbulu yente komandi telephone la
where he first broke the news to me.
bira nyin kibaro fonye follow
And he mentioned that
ando ay nyim foko
the president said we should converge and make a press release.
president ko nse ben na kibar banke
That was how we met in the Inspector General's office.
nyene ya sabu mbenta Inspector
And
General
I've mentioned whilst we were there,
ando ngafo ko mbijetu mo men
Tumbul made a call
tumbulu ye komandiro ke kotake
to see how far we've gone with the press release.
kaje antelumbe tembe da jumale to wo kibaro fintindo
And later on,
and wo kolalom
the president himself
president of fango
made a call
ay komandiro ke
to see how far we've gone with the press release.
prasalon mbe tembe da jumal to nyin kibaro
But
fintindo
for
la
Harry to suggest that Tumbul came to the panel
bari pour hari ya foko tumbulo nata je tumbul nata jele
in
Point
the IG's office.
IG's office, yes.
Yes, the panel in the IG's office.
pour kana ma ben tel menu be IG la office ko no tumo
That is not true.
o manke to nyati
It was the three of us.
ntel mo sabole biji
And even if you have the opportunity to talk to Usman Sonko,
andu nesilo soto fanka diam Usman Sonko
so he's going to relay the same message that I'm giving here.
abe kibar kilimo le fole kombe men
And also for him to suggest that we went to the State House.
anim fanan ka foko to data state house
Perhaps you should allow me to get that far.
All right.
Because I haven't said that yet. You just anticipated it.
Okay.
All right.
Council.
He went on to say,
Tententa kafo
at State House, then President Jammeh received us very coldly, asking what all three of us wanted to see him for simultaneously together with the captain.
Jeldom President Jammeh na nyinin karo ke sumayare ko munanen tol mosa bo bebi na nyinin kalo wato la je ke anu captain oni.
It was then that Tumbul Tamba narrated the same story he had earlier on told us at the police headquarters.
Tumbul Tamba kuma kan nyim faye ay mem fonye nun komanto nun police wala korda bato.
Upon hearing this, His Excellency went berserk.
President sangarata wonole toje
rolled his eyes red
and
called us a bunch of fools.
After
ranting at us, His Excellency gave instructions that everything should be done to find the fugitives and bring them to book.
Na fero façon nya besio nya matama ndinge muta nge murundi na nge londi luwa nyati limula.
Patrols should be reinforced and all border posts alerted.
Kantar la lumen be muru na nyanta ulu wulindi la ke sembentu ya adun nane bundalu nane uluto nyanta ulu be mutalale.
Then he sent us packing.
Mutumoleng ayam baiji.
Council, this is a very graphic description
Council
of an event.
Nyumukolu satanya satanya maneleti meya lonko afindita
it would take a very brave
abekela fatia baleti
and meticulous storyteller
ani moment da kalandingo
if this would be a lie.
Ninyembekela faniati.
What do you say?
Ibe munafalawto.
Council, I say it is a lie.
Council mbafala ko fanialem.
Myself,
Ntefango,
Usman Sonko, Harry Sambu, we never went to the State House.
Nenemanta State House.
All I can tell you, converge in IG's office, that was Usman Sonko. Like I said, it took us a lot of time before we could agree on the text of the press release. Simply because all the three of us, we could not understand how this whole event happened. You know, it may not be possible
ate keno la fanang.
The instructions comes from the president.
Ka foko kumakangulu botanam president
at that time, and then we say we will move again to his office.
Otembo ka foko ngaboje kotake kata ala office.
Because I didn't mention whilst in the Inspector General's office.
Inspector General la office.
Certainly we received a call from the president, Yajame, at that time.
Otembo le president yentelu kumandi Yajame
utumo. We wanted to know how far we've gone with the press release.
Ate lafta mello nambe kibaro memfintindi la tembe jumale to.
So the issue of the press release was in fact a directive from the president. Is that your testimony?
Kibaro nyinna ko nyin kumakan ne me alon ko abota president wala kanol.
Also, yes, through Tombong Tamba, and whilst we were in the office of the IG, also got a call from the president as well, in respect of the press release.
Tombong Tamba follow atele akibaro dinna barbitumbe IG la office ko tumo mem fanan president fama komandiro ke kanyinin kan na tembe dala.
In a sense, you were being played by the president to do what he wanted.
Monte president ye muna fangal dala pour ali kuke atelafta menna.
Write a story
roga kibaro safe
informing the public
jama kala mutandi
about something you had no knowledge about.
Kula me yalon ko almal londi sota ko.
Is that the truth?
Wala mutonyati.
And so when the president called me whilst in the IG's office, what he said to me was, I will give you the message that you should make a press release on the escape of these people. And I responded to him, yes, he gave me the message. And that is why we are in the IG's office. Release that press.
From State House.
Amunta president o wato la ko men bebe tama kan ka State House na be tele ko nyi be tama de kan ala kan kan.
The reason why he called us.
Let's answer the question, General. Let's answer the question. You've told us the reason. He wanted you guys to do a press statement. So answer the question. The president was running the show from State House. He directed you guys to write a press statement he wanted you to write.
Yes, Council, he directed that we make a press release.
Council, and let me finish. And through Tombong Tamba, he told you the story that was to be in the press release.
Yes, that they were being transported and they escaped on the way. Tombong gave us that message.
And that pronouncement was going to be your own pronouncement as service chiefs.
It was going to be the Inspector General of Police informs the general public. That is how they make the press releases. And that was how it was.
But this was the making of the three service chiefs: intelligence, police, and army.
Police Italy nya sotonne membe laring nibe o kibar façon
following our meeting,
birina bengo botala,
I mean the three services, myself, Harisambo, and Usman Sonko. Certainly we told the IGP to take the lead in writing that press release. And that was why the
police
we would take that, General. But this was a press release by the three service chiefs, even though it was the Inspector General of Police who was informing the public.
Yes, Council, with directives from the President.
Council,
at that moment, I didn't know.
All right. So, your involvement in the preparation of that document just lended some credibility to the press release, didn't it?
Itela dabulo kibaro nyin kono wonata na sababu kibaro nyin anata na ke kibarte me alon ko aketa kibari bambandi ngolati.
Council, when you say credibility, I don't know to who.
Council niko credibility wolem kansa haringo malom bitung kansa haringo abedila jumal.
To the general public.
Jamara Hamano.
Because it was the public who was being informed.
Katun Jamara Hamano ibole kala mutanden kan kibaro nyin nan.
Yes.
if three service chiefs, intelligence, army, and police would come to the public and inform them of an event,
ngadra tanko bunda nyaton ka saba polisol sojarol aning kulo polisol la nyaton kol be findi la kakuma fo mole jamaa kuoto.
in all likelihood, the public would believe that information to be credible.
Council, like I said, the police, they have a format in when making press releases.
Council, police
when the public hears the press release, there was nothing in the press release that suggests that the DG of the NIA, Harisambu, neither him nor me were present in the drafting of the press release. So I don't think there will be any connection between the two of us and the general public. For them to either believe or disbelieve.
That is a fair comment. I don't have the press release with me, so we have searched for it. We could not find it. Maybe at some stage we would find it. But you would agree with me that by having the three service chiefs sitting at the office of the IGP and drafting together, jointly, this press release, it created for Yaya Jammeh, the person directing all this, that all three of you have accepted this story. True or false?
Council asked the Chief of Defense Staff at the time, Inspector General of Police, and the Director General of the NIA, probably certainly we take our directives from the President.
Actually,
He was the Commander-in-Chief.
But all three of you did take your directives from the President.
Certainly, certainly as the Commander-in-Chief. And at that moment, we had no cause.
Issue, and we would come to that. My issue is that by getting the three service chiefs to sit together and write that press release, from his perspective, you are inextricably linked with that press release. It is already tied to your mast, if you will. Do you agree?
Council, I think what's important here is say that we get our directives from the President. In this case, if the directives were given by the President himself, certainly we have to act on those directives. Then I say yes.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. But you participated in writing a press release of about facts that you have no knowledge of. True or false?
That is true. However, at that very stage, that early stage of the incident, it was at that very day when the incident happened.
Did you have reason subsequently to doubt what the President said?
Certainly after that, after the press release, certainly the press release was very clear that anybody with any information as to the whereabouts of these people, to report to the nearest police station or military installation. But along the line, certainly as a human being, and of course with our interactions with people, and even on the media, people started expressing different views. Some not believing in the press release, because some believing.
But you still haven't answered.
No,
Which suggests to you that this was all a lie.
Council, coming to your question, certainly nobody reported to me that it was a lie. But like I said, as I am also human, after a thorough assessment, and even I've said it here, when Tumbul reported to me, my first question to him, how could this have happened? Were these people not handcuffed? And of course, certainly he said they weren't handcuffed. So the reason I asked him that, it was difficult for me to believe that such number of security personnel been transferred to another prison center. And yet they were not handcuffed. That was very difficult for me to understand. And of course, to simplify that, when we are detained at mile 2, usually we are handcuffed. Of course, with chain links on our legs. So that was why at that time I said it was difficult for me to understand prisoners being transported to a long distance and never handcuffed.
At any stage later learned about the operation that led to the disappearances of these people?
Council, the answer is no. Because the simple reason being, those who should confirm that to us was taken as speculation.
Mr. Tamba, this is the Truth Commission. Let's just say things as they are. Let's avoid getting things very nuanced and politically correct.
Mr. Tamba, nyimuto nya commission leti. Nga kulu samba nyama me yalonko wala be kulu banke la menketa tojati anin kulu tamata nyame.
This is not to say, but let me put my question. Didn't you at any stage come to learn that this was an operation in fact? Which it was only you as service chief was not aware.
Council, at this point, I would say that, however, certainly there are certain witnesses I can say who might be privy to such information because they were at the State House. I wasn't at the State House. Like I said, I don't want to speculate on issues that I am not very sure of.
Tell us what you were told about conversations in State House about you not being informed or being aware or being involved.
La yema la karola mome bonda kala mome sobindi momam fem foye akoto nyimolo la yema la karola.
Council, I can say that.
Council nsinyi mfono ko.
I wish Tumbul or Musa Jame were here.
Abe diala nyelun Tumbul wala Musa Jame ye tarajang.
they could confirm to this panel of things. It was Tumbul who informed me about the incident.
Yes, we accept what Tumbul have told you. There's no doubt about that. You had information suggesting that you were deliberately kept out of what was happening leading to the... I did not say that. I said that you have information with regards to these 5 disappeared persons.
Munta wele nyi tande ko ire kibaro sotole meye nyi yitandi nyi molu lolu iye manta nyamen ila konata la nyamen karonta.
Certainly it was been rumored that these particular people didn't escape, that they were killed. And of course, when the junglers came to testify before this commission, of course I heard them mention about that.
But that's about the fact that you were not involved in the process that led to the disappearances of these people.
But we be kola tum asake ite fangonata kuma kangolu mwele president wa menu foko ka foko ite kungo ida tije ibulo mantara kolu kono me ya lonko wala ya sababu hanfo nyi molu filita wal
remember that
hakilote wala mutala.
General.
Yes, Council.
You told me that just about an hour ago.
Yo fonye montoro wate killing command.
In my office.
Na office okolo.
I'll move on. That they killed them.
Jongla solo ya satako itelle nyilufa.
And the junglers were controlled by the president.
Alunyin jongla solo.
Just the 5 of them.
Amanda nyina ko koye tulumululo dam manne fade.
They also killed the president's sister.
The president bari musuma fango fanam fa
together with them.
Ya ninyi mulu be fa nyolale
according to the junglers.
Ko jongla solo fango lu daya sata nyami.
In all honesty,
tilingo nin tonya kan
being a member of the panel
ka fo ete fango tarta o panelo kono ye menu sita panelo toko akoita ko hani sede yaro hani ajaba kunto hani miskala jarati mo mansoto daba marena la koldo.
How did you feel when you had the junglers sitting here, not just 1, not just 2, but 3 of them or 4 of them sitting here and confessed how they in cold blood executed those 7 people? Daba Marena, the president's sister, and some woman from one West African country called Julia. How did you feel?
Ite akete nyadile, yata nyadile. Biring ibe siring nyin jongla solu moya abatata fomo nani fang menu be sita jang ya sede ya ko itelle nyi mulufa andunga mandango la president bari musu faje ani musu killing member to mu findula nyintiliji bankolu killing kan tanye jikila teoti.
It was very painful on my side.
Adiminta baken na karola
simply because if that was the case,
Daba
Marena was a very close co-worker to me.
At
one instance, when I was the State Guards commander, he was posted at the State House. And during Sadauda's regime, I worked with Daba, so I felt disappointed that somebody who has not yet appeared before the panel shed light on his allegation, the allegations against him. Certainly, I felt very disappointed. And this is something I never expected.
Do you condemn their execution?
Must condemn it.
You said you were disappointed.
Ya fo koy jikila teta.
At who?
Duma kam.
Whoever might have done it.
Memme yake.
The jungler said they did it under the instructions of Sheikh Professor, His Excellency Yahya AJG.
Certainly, when they said it here, I felt disappointed.
In who?
I'm coming, Council. As to how it can be possible that you turn and kill your own sister and some other people who have not been tried yet, even by a court of law. Certainly, I felt disappointed by the president.
And did you feel disappointed that he used you?
I wouldn't feel disappointed because that never happened for him to use me to execute those people.
Oh, sorry. I am by no means suggesting that. Perhaps I should rephrase the sentence and make it more complete. Don't you feel disappointed that he used you in creating his cover-up?
ayemuna fang itilale wala yedo kundi puru ate aya fang mura nyamen ka fang sutura nyin kokono
by coming up with that press release which was a lie.
Anen puruka ali saferindi wo kibaro la me yalon ko kusoto balole.
Certainly, when I had the testimony of the junglers,
undoubtedly
I felt disappointed. Why was the truth not told from the beginning? Before we could make that press release.
Thank you very much. I'll leave that issue. But perhaps maybe in just fairness to you, I should not let other stories that are out there not put to you for you to respond to them.
Tonya atakela telimoti puruka kumado la kumakang lu foye menu fata bantala puruka ulu foyete nyinko kono jang.
Not necessarily hearsay, but allegations that are out there.
Amanda nyina kafoko moyla moy kumolem bari bitun kumalem men kata tumuri kangolti.
Because we have to try to establish the historical record.
Katumbe men kata kangolem. Ka kuma kangolu soto tariko la karola menu mu kuma soto ringoluti menu tilinta ndun tonyalem.
It's been suggested that you reported
andu nyimfota ko itele fongonge kibaro di
Daba Marena on the allegation that he was involved in the coup. What do you say to that?
Nyimfang fotale molugu ya foko itele fongo ye Daba Marena la ko wanyari ka foko adabe nyin kudeta konole.
I raise this issue because we want to get the record straight.
And so I want to inform this commission that it is not true that I raised the issue of Marena's involvement with the president. Marena left with the president to Mauritania. And there was no any communication between me and Marena. And me and the president never talked even, about Marena's involvement. Marena's involvement was discussed in Mauritania, I understand. And when they returned back, somebody told me that Marena explained to him that the president was angry with him there. That they were not talking. And of course, the president have access to talk to many people. During our sittings at the panel, the issue of Marena's involvement never surfaced in our panel. Nobody even made mention of Marena. So you can go through the records, go through all the panelists.
isi akuma safari ngulube jube no le menketa paneloto wala paneloto menu be sirinje.
Nobody will ever tell you that Marena's issue came to the panel.
Mo kilinta fule Marena la ko fata paneloto jele.
So I disagree with that suggestion.
Manson wo ya kumakangola.
We would proceed.
Mbetentenna.
Now let's move to Kambai. I promised that we would raise it. Just briefly.
Yes.
Silangata Kambai la puro ngela hidi kombe o kachala.
In the army,
Sojar kundaro.
you have a procedure for dealing with crimes.
Ale silo le soto al crimes koleal ke maranyame.
Committed by members of the force.
Men ya lonko sojar kundaro men ya luatinya el ke maranyame.
Correct?
Tonya.
Correct, Council.
Tonya la council.
And you have the military police, whose responsibility it is to investigate such violations.
Be kono wala military police holdi on wala do ko men wala nyinde kaw kusi fal nyinke ke kisi ke jara.
Correct.
Tonya.
In fact, the soldiers don't even allow the police to interfere in crimes committed by the military, especially military crimes. They are dealt with internally.
Soldier rol fawol buka som pour police ol ye dabula to soldier damal la ko lo mi menke ital damal fawol la ko to fotono e fawaye.
True?
Tonya.
Tonya.
Sam Kambai was a soldier serving in Farafenye. Do you recall that?
Soldier rol me yalon ko abdu ko la num Farafenye fo hakilo si o mutano le ba.
At one time, probably, he might be.
What is it on asekelo abeje?
Because I cannot keep record of all soldiers' area of posting.
That is very fair. We received information that Sam Kambai was brought to the military headquarters upon suspicion that he committed an offense. And as CDS, you directed that he be taken to the NIA for investigations and interrogation. Is that true?
Council, that is true.
But you had your own internal procedures for dealing with such matters, didn't you?
Yes, Council.
Why didn't you put him through that process?
And so, in the military, we have a chain of command. All the service chiefs, they report to the CDS. The CDS reports and takes directives from the commander-in-chief.
Who was that person?
At the time, it was certainly Yaya Jammeh.
So what happened in this instance with Kambai?
A message came from the commander-in-chief.
Let's forget about titles. Let's mention individuals.
So you mean let me drop the commander-in-chief?
Yes, let's mention names. And we can't be referring to just titles. Titles are attached to individuals and names. We know the individuals, just mention the individuals.
Yeah, we are military. We know, we move on with titles.
Okay, mention the name and the title for clarity.
Okay. The commander-in-chief and head of state at the time certainly had a case reported to him.
Who was that person? Let's juxtapose all these titles with names.
Okay, Yahya Jammeh.
Yahya Jammeh.
Proceed.
Okay, I got information message from him that some rebel faction groups
rebel kafolu sotonta
were arrested
and
taken to the NIA.
And during
the interrogation,
andu bewlu nyinin ka kan wato
we
men
gathered information
nyin kibaro soto
that Sam Kambai
ko Sam Kambai
was among the personnel
abe molle kono
who were selling some explosives
men ka fengolu wafi men mu nyim fem fetentalti men be ko bomolu
to that faction group.
ke wafi wo rebeloluma.
So that was how I was asked to surrender Sam Kambai
o nyalem ya fanya ko Sam Kambai di
to the NIA.
ko ngadi NIA wala
Because those individuals, those Jakai MFDC group,
o Jakai MFDC rebel ka fo mulu
were already arrested in connection of that allegation,
wayatara yewlu mutale de o tumiro kan
and they were being detained at the NIA.
andu tumol fanal be to kono NIA.
So, on the basis of that command, you from Yaya Jame, you surrendered your elements to the NIA.
Certainly, I surrendered Sam Kambai to the NIA.
Na Sam Kambai di NIA wala.
Under proper military procedures, shouldn't there have been an internal investigations within the army?
I was made to understand that
there
was a panel already been set up, including the police and the NIA.
So the
directives were to hand over Sam Kambai to that particular group.
I understand all that. But my question remains, under normal procedures, regular procedures, shouldn't Sam Kambai have been investigated by the army first
for Sam Kambai
anything is done?
Sam Kambai imanyana ka kisi sojar kundal do foloke jannin kudo be kala folo.
Certainly, Council.
Yes, Tonyala.
Council.
Under the rule of law, the rules in the military required that should have been done.
Sartol tamandri blol we mem fo sojar kundato we mem fo lemnyindi ko wala nyanna kake.
That is correct.
Muto nyaleti.
That same military
bari o sojar bunda kili
falls under the commander-in-chief.
O fanambe be commander-in-chief la kamala ko.
That does not mean that every order is lawful.
Nyingo koto manke nyindi ko kafo ko kawo kan woni loi tatale.
You agree?
That is true.
Muto nyaleti.
And this was one unlawful order.
Amunda nyimbe kangol kono me yalon ko kan luanta yala.
Correct.
Tonya.
And with that unlawful order, Sam Kambai was surrendered to the NIA.
Luanta ya kang Sam Kambai narana di NIA.
Certainly.
Tonyala.
We received information from Bobaji,
Kibaro soto kabo Bobaji bulu,
who took him to the NIA.
Me yalon ko atafon kundingola yasamba NIA.
But we would get to that. Let me take a step back. Were you told where the explosive Sam Kambai was peddling, where they came from?
Fo ya fo ne bang Sam Kambai ya tu mi fetem fengol jorangol menla. Fo ya fo ne ibota mi dole bang.
Yes, probably I may not remember exactly, but it is between Yundum and Farafenye.
Asekeno hakilo tamuta la kende kele bari abe Yundum ni Farafenye tema asekewot.
As CDS, every missing ammunition should be reported to you by the quartermaster.
Certainly.
Did you receive any report of missing ammo, missing explosives from either Farafenye or Yundum?
I did not.
But here you are told that your element has sold explosives
ko ay fetem fengola wafi
to some rebel group outside the country,
ay fetem fengota wafi kafo do me alon ko rebelol lem bandara banko kan
which were taken from one of your armories
ko iye mem fo ko yo bondi la kidi ma joran ma budlal do
at a time in which you had no report
wati la me alon ko ma hani report sota ko
that's your ammunition or explosives.
We as human beings, in our own settlements, our certain properties can get missing. You may not discover that on time. Until at a later date you come to discover that. That was why when they requested, certainly we handed over Sam Kambai to them. For them to continue to mount the investigation of whatever they were doing.
Did you order an audit of your armory?
Some ordnance were missing. Certainly the storekeepers were notified.
My question is not whether you have notified.
Sinolo kalamutanle na nyini karo mende wala mnyindi ko fo biri yo moy fay nata na kango dile bam puru mangasino nyim puru kaje konti boba
receive any report that any of your ordinances were missing.
Fo inar na report o sotale ban kayitandi ko ila jorangol fen soranta jela mem filita
of the type Kambai was alleged to have been peddling to the Casamas rebels.
Watola kafoko Kambai wasifa ime ya tumi men sifa lo ko fo sifa filte itela mujwana lo kono ba ko abe me wafikan ni rebelol ma Casamas.
Certainly even before that the panel contacted us.
Ani wo fango jan ni wo fango be kala panelo ni yentelu kumandile
to ascertain whether we have some missing ordnance.
And of
course, the ordnance people made it missing.
At a time when Kambai was already so brutally tortured,
I'm hearing that from you. I've told you from the beginning that
you had that from Bobaji, you had that from Kambai. I am just bringing out the evidence.
And so I'm hearing that from you.
All right, let's put it straight. This is evidence from Kambai and from Bobaji that Kambai was so brutally tortured. In fact, according to Kambai, he said that there was almost this unanimous view at Mile 2 prison that he was the most tortured military personnel during that time.
I
have no cause to deny that.
According to law, would Kambai have suffered that?
Certainly he wouldn't have.
Do you think that it was fair to Kambai to have been taken to the NIA, where it was almost certain that he would be brutalized, even before an audit was done of your stores to determine whether
it wouldn't have been fair if at all I had a prior knowledge that he'll be tortured.
General, it was common knowledge in where was the torture chamber of Gambia, everybody would say NIA. In view of that, it was reasonably foreseeable that anybody who was sent to the NIA with allegations of betrayal of the state
tumiro la kafo ko ay bankole jamfa
or allegations of threats to Yaya Jammeh's government,
waranto tumiro la kafo ko ay Yaya Jammeh masakunda ay wala maslang
you would most likely be tortured.
asikero nyu nya bay nyate woto don foy si tajireya
Most likely.
asik jama
In that context, it was reasonably foreseeable.
Reasonable
Foreseeable.
Focus on reasonably foreseeable.
So that is why I'm happy you use the word probably. So hence it is a probability. The same applies to me. I was not, assured that he will be tortured.
So
that he was badly tortured.
But later, the director was able to brief me about what was happening there. And certainly I intervened to address that situation by talking to the man in charge directly.
And who was that?
I reminded the person in charge.
Who was that? Who did you talk to?
Council, I cannot even remember who was the Director General. It was a long time.
But you must remember who you spoke to. Even if you don't remember the Director General, you would remember who you spoke to.
Council, I don't want to speculate. There were many Director Generals.
But there won't be any speculation.
Whose time it was, I cannot remember.
General, this would not be about speculation. This is about telling us who you spoke to. It would be speculation if you are asked who was the DG at what time. Then you would be speculating. But this is a life experience. You spoke to a particular person. You should be able to remember who you spoke to.
Council, that is my testimony. I cannot remember who the person was at the time.
Fair enough. We move on. And what did you do to intervene?
That we received reports of Sam Kambai being tortured. And of course, I expressed my dismay on that and was given the assurance that he will put a stop to that.
You sent Sam Kambai to the NIA.
Sam Kambai key NIA.
At the direction of Yaya Jammeh.
Yaya Jammeh la
correct?
Correct.
And those at the NIA were working under the directive of Yaya Jammeh. And it was reasonably foreseeable, there was a big probability that Sam Kambai would be tortured, correct?
And asekeno nyi mudali la koyo timosi sobi nako. Woto Sam Kambai kolu memfotama na afuta taje ibatajire yalale.
It's not correct because I was not assured. And I never had such an experience of sending a soldier there and being tortured.
Ode among tiling katu utumo ima bamandi makuimembe kelaje and utumo ndefongo malanyi nako na tataje ibatajire yalale.
But I mean, it was generally known, it was notorious information that the NIA was a torture chamber.
I cannot confirm that a serving member of the armed forces can be there and tortured.
So that
was a...
And you learned that your element was tortured.
And
so before Sam Kambai's detention at the NIA, I never received such information. That suggests.
Do you recall the year?
No, I cannot recall the year.
Even by 2005. The UN has produced reports showing that the NIA was almost a torture. We accept it or not. We agree to have knowledge of it or not. This was a notorious fact, quote unquote. It was generally well known.
If that is what the UN suggests, Let it be.
But
I'm coming, allow me to learn. But what I said here is, I never expected that a serving member of the armed forces could be tortured at the NIA.
But General, that is so not the case.
So it became a surprise to me.
But just before you were CDS, you were there and you saw wholesale tortures happening at the NIA. Or you knew about the wholesale tortures that were happening there. Of serving of members of the Gambia National Army.
Council, I think that is not a correct statement. I've never known any serving member of the armed forces who were tortured.
How about firing?
I came to get knowledge of that following those that were arrested in the abortive coup of 2006. When firing brought it to my attention. So I never expected that Sam Kambai will be tortured like that. Because he was arrested in connection of a coup. But I cannot also conclude that.
But Mr. Tamba,
Mr. Tamba,
during your time at the panel, it was established clearly that you had knowledge that tortures were going on.
Council, if you want to take me back to what we talked about.
Just a moment. I'm not going back to that. I'm just recapping. And these people were soldiers. Even though theirs was in connection with a coup d'etat. The fact is, soldiers who went to NIA were tortured. So it is reasonably foreseeable, therefore, that by sending Sam Kambai there, he too may be tortured.
Council, I disagree with that. That was never always the case. I was sent to the NIA. And I wasn't tortured. So that theory suggests that any soldier sent to the NIA will be tortured doesn't hold.
Well noted. Thank you very much. I have overrun the time by far. My apologies, Mr. Chair.
Indeed, thank you very much. We will take a 30-minute break and come back at 12:45. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.